Hi everyone, it's Pastor Wagner. This is my weekly video blog. For any of you who have watched this video blog for any length of time, will be shocked to find out that there are actually people out there who have accused me of being intolerant. I know that's hard to imagine. But I want to talk about intolerance today, and I want to start by defining the terms. Intolerance is the fact or quality of being intolerant. The fact or habit of not tolerating or enduring something, inability or unwillingness to tolerate or endure some particular thing, incapacity of endurance. Especially, it is absence of tolerance for difference of opinion or practice, especially in religious matters, denial of the right to differ, narrow-minded or bigoted opposition to dissent. Now, in that intolerance is defined by not having tolerance. Let's see what tolerance is. Tolerance is the action or practicing of enduring or sustaining pain or hardship, the power or capacity of endurance. The action or practice of tolerating, toleration. The disposition to be patient with or indulgent to the opinions or practices of others, freedom from bigotry or undue severity in judging the conduct of others, forbearance, catholicity of spirit. And lastly, I want to define the verb to tolerate. Tolerate means to endure, sustain pain or hardship, to allow to exist, or to be done or practiced without authoritative interference or molestation. Also, generally, to allow or permit, to bear without repugnance, to allow intellectually or in state, sentiment, or principle, to put up with. So some people think that apparently I am not able to put up with false doctrine or other ideas. And in a sense, I'm not, but in a sense, I am. You see, Baptists, let me back up. If there was any religion on the face of the planet that practices true tolerance, it is the Baptists. It's the Baptist churches going the whole way back to the days of Christ. Baptist churches were persecuted from the very beginning, going the whole way up from Rome and then from the Catholic Church through the Dark Ages. And then even after the Protestant Reformation, then the Baptists were persecuted not only by the Catholics, but also by the Protestants, by the Lutherans, by the Presbyterians, by the Congregationalists, and by the Church of England. Then a lot of people started moving over to America for religious freedom. A lot of these Protestant groups moved over for religious freedom. And as soon as they got to establish their colonies in America, they started state churches, and they started persecuting other Christians, people who didn't believe as they did. And Rhode Island was the first state in the history of the world that I'm aware of that was established under the foundational principle of religious freedom, and it was established by a Baptist, or by Baptists. It was actually given its charter. They went over to the king and applied for it, and eventually, after about 25 years, it was given its charter. And Rhode Island, there was actually religious freedom, and Baptists or anybody else could come there and worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. So Baptists are really the only ones that can truly say historically they are a tolerant religion. But I'm not intolerant of other religions or beliefs. Let me just apply the definitions. I endure other people's false beliefs without authoritative interference. I would never authoritatively interfere with somebody's false beliefs. I would never try to get the state to pass laws against them or anything like that. People are free to believe whatever they want. I endure the pain and the irritation of hearing lies. Even as painful as it is for me to hear the lies, and as irritating as it is, I endure it. It's because I'm a tolerant person. I do not deny someone their right to believe a false doctrine or to be wrong. Look, you have every right to be wrong. If you want to be wrong, go be as wrong as you want. And you want to teach others to be wrong, go teach others to be wrong. But just know that I'm going to try to convince you otherwise. And I would appreciate it if you would give me the opportunity to be wrong too. And then also afford me the love to show me where I'm wrong. I would appreciate that. I have never persecuted somebody for their beliefs, nor would I, God being my helper. In fact, I vehemently defend people's rights to believe and to say whatever they want, not just religiously, politically as well. I'm a libertarian, and I disagree with most everybody politically, it seems, on the right and on the left, in some capacity anyway, but I still ardently, vehemently defend people's liberty to say, think, do whatever they want, as long as they're not harming somebody else. Now, let me talk about what intolerance is not. Okay, intolerance is not hating evil. Okay, that is not an intolerant thing to do. It says in Psalm 97 verse 10, "Ye that fear the Lord hate evil. God tells his people that fear him to hate evil. That's what we're supposed to do. Psalm 119 and verse 128 says, "Therefore I esteem all thy precepts concerning all things to be right, and I hate every false way." So people take issue with this, that, oh, I condemn false opinions, I condemn false Bible versions, or I condemn whatever. You know what? The Bible tells me I'm supposed to esteem all of God's precepts concerning all things to be right and hate every false way. So yeah, I hate all those other Bible versions. Any of the corrupted ones, which is most of them in the last 100 years. I hate all false doctrine. But that doesn't mean that I'm intolerant. That doesn't mean that I'm a hateful person just because I hate false doctrine. I'm sure most people watching this have doctrine that they would hate. Most Christians would hate the doctrine that says that Jesus is not God, right? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Condemning false doctrine and condemning evil is not intolerance. Listen to Jesus Christ, the Son of God. In Matthew 22 and verse 29, Jesus answered and said unto them, "Ye do err, not knowing the Scriptures, nor the power of God." Just listen to that intolerant Son of God there telling people they are wrong. You are erring. You don't even know the Scriptures, Jesus said. Are you going to accuse him of being intolerant? I hope not. Look at what Paul said. Listen to this. Listen to this bigot Paul. In Galatians 1 and verse 9. "As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have received, let him be accursed." Paul says, damn you if you believe or teach any other gospel than what we have preached to you, Paul says. He pronounces a curse on somebody. Now, is that intolerant? Are you going to call the Apostle Paul the chiefest of apostles? Are you going to call the man that we're supposed to follow? He says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I am of Christ." Are you going to call him intolerant? How about Galatians 3 and verse 1? Listen to what he calls these Galatians, these Christians. He's calling Christians names. He says, "O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you that ye should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ hath been evidently set forth crucified among you." Paul calls these Christians whom he converted foolish because they had adopted a works-based salvation. Are we going to call Paul intolerant? Now, we should try to get people to change their minds through persuasion, not through persecution. Okay, the intolerant person tries to change people's mind through persecution or passing laws or stopping people from believing or saying what they want. That's not how we do it. 2 Corinthians 10, verses 3 through 5. "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations, and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ." That is the war that I fight. That's the war that every Christian should fight. Try to change people's minds, starting with your own mind, with the power of persuasion, with the power of the Word of God, not with the power of the sword or of the state. Now, rebuking somebody for their sin and converting them from the error of their way is not an act of hatred. It's an act of love. Let me show it to you. Leviticus 19 and verse 17. God says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him." To rebuke your neighbor and not suffer him, not allow him to continue to sin, that is an act of love. But to let him go on in his sin and not say anything and say, "Oh, I'm just tolerant of other people's lifestyles," that is to hate the brother. Listen to James 5, 19 through 20. "Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins." So when I try to convert a sinner from the error of his way, whether that is moral error or whether that is doctrinal error, I am trying to save a soul from death and hide a multitude of sins. I'm trying to do an act of love. It would be an act of hatred for me to let the brother just go on believing his lies and not say anything about it. So anyway, that's all I have to say about intolerance today. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again next week, Lord willing.